The Destiny community just got tormented. The Destiny community just got Bungie'd. The Destiny community just got the best story we have seen in years from this franchise. All of this is true, and all of this is important to the story of today's video. The Final Shape released with a whirlwind of content, just as much as the Final Shape released with a current of server-side issues. So in today's video, we are going to talk about the Destiny community and the story of Day 1 Final Shape. From the reactions to the, well, community sentiment. With the end of the Light and Dark saga and the 10-year journey of Destiny coming to a close, the Final Shape campaign was all set to drop. A record amount of players coming back from years of breaks for one last hurrah on behalf of nostalgia and, well, closure. The Final Shape on Day 1 had the grand stage set, and you know how it went down. You motherfucker! The Destiny community thought they were fighting the Witness. They thought this would be easy, but the Witness had disciples, cabbages, currants, plums, baboons, weasels, and worst of all, traffic. So I made a tweet just to check in on how many people were affected, and oh, that's a lot of replies. We literally have been taking naps and doing push-ups on stream to pass the time. Got in one time and this happened. Oh, would you look at this? Yeah, that's right, guys. It finally happened. I finally have my very first waifu cup with the wonderful Nogi-san working with me. And yeah, it's a robotic waifu cup. Yep, it's just a robot in a cool, sexy pose. Hey guys, listen. Ultimately, you can use code EVAN at checkout right now to pick up this shaker. Sweatcicle has a brand new shaker, and CB Gray has a brand new flavor named Copium as well. Maybe the servers will work if we drink some Copium and drink out of the robotic waifu cup shaker. Guys, using code EVAN at checkout will support my channel directly, especially picking up one of these cups, and it just supports events like Raid Zone that CB Gray and I get to put on for you guys and just do more fun events. I'm looking to do more creator-funded events in the future, so yeah, use code EVAN and let's get back to it. Weasels, cloudberries, everything that you can imagine. I mean, guys, all of these replies at this point are going to feel the exact same. There is so many people that have had issues on this day that I think this goes down in history as the potentially largest Destiny 2 fumble of the servers I've seen. Yeah, I want to get to the juice, and that was the campaign, because goddamn, it was amazing. But I think we also can't bury the lead that everyone was looking at first. This will go down as one of the most unfortunate launches Destiny has ever seen, and that includes Shadowkeep and Rise of Iron all things together, and those were pretty bad. Although I feel for everyone at Bungie who has to ensure server stability and runs into issues like these because you can't control that many people hopping on all at once, I have to say that on the largest day for Destiny of the year, hell, the largest of the franchise other than the raid this Friday, when there is a long delay and 25 hours of maintenance to ensure those servers are working, this cannot happen. How am I going to convince my friends who dunk on Destiny to play on days like this? How can I be sure that the Day 1 raid and the Raid Zone event won't be affected? Yeah, I know, commenter. Oh, but Evan, this is expected. Listen, man, I still hate it. Now take this picture of corn I found in the campaign, eat it, and shove it up your... Anyways, the servers kind of made it hard for a lot of players to experience the Final Shape. And that's a real shame, because I can happily say that this was the best campaign we've had in a long time. And I want to save all of my very deep thoughts for when I get a better server experience and when the dust has settled a bit. I mean, how can I fairly judge a story that I got constantly ripped out of? How can I give you guys my full, proper, deep thoughts without that? For now, I can just give you my first impressions, which was the aim of this video of the community sentiment anyways. Let's talk about the story. Without ruining too much, I think I could say that this story has some of the greatest moments I have ever seen. But some moments where I felt it was just, I think there is definitely a lot more substance in a new location with new enemies being fought and the feeling of seeing familiar nostalgic locations, on top of the banger score by Michael Salvatore, we will miss you, Mr. Salvatore, these things are all in service of the story. But when I get down to it, I question a bit of the decisions, and I'm gonna need help from the Destiny community, because I'm not really sure why Zavala was sort of out of character here. I know Keith David is doing his best job and couldn't be a better fit for Zavala other than Lance Reddick, but I really felt like I was watching a different character here. There's some other questions that I'll be wondering a little bit later into this video, so Destiny community, do your thing and help this dumb guy figure out a little bit more of what's going on. From top to bottom, there wasn't a ton of filler, and even the bits that felt like they were kind of short and too irrelevant to the plotline ended up working in the post-campaign content. I don't want to go too deep into the spoiler territory, as I will save that for a more formal review, but I can say that this was Bungie's best in a long time. And in a lot of ways, remedied mistakes I felt both Witch Queen and Lightfall's campaigns both had. For starters, no Nimbus. I was pleased with the way that the game introduced us to Prismatic. The Witness being inside the Traveler and infecting it with darkness allows us to combine both light and dark into one formidable power. That being said, it was a tiny bit annoying when we had to unlock the different parts of Prismatic over the course of the campaign, but at least it wasn't as grindy and as focused as Stasis and Strand. At one point towards the end of the campaign, I did feel like it was a bit too short, but you gotta remember that there will be another mission after the raid is complete, and they spread out a lot of the cool missions that do a lot of character and world building for the post-campaign missions, so I can kinda give them a pass there. I thought it was better than many other years. I felt like it was also a really good choice to wait a week before kicking off the first episode, because it would feel a bit weird if the whole universe was about to die, then we had to go to Nessus for some reason. The Legendary campaign was easier than expected, I really can't lie. This isn't a huge issue, and it didn't bother me too much, but I remember how the Witch Queen campaign felt like a kick in the teeth when it was released in a good way. Not entirely sure how a kick in the teeth can be good, but you get my point. It was genuinely difficult. The campaign was difficult, but it didn't hit as hard. Maybe I've just been conditioned to Pantheon for too long, but yeah, this one wasn't too difficult. As for the tone of the expansion, I really enjoyed most of it. I think the return of Cade was done well, although some people I know got booted in the cutscene where our Guardian reunites with him for the first time, which isn't amazing. Not to spoil things, but seeing Cade reunite with Ikora was genuinely heartwarming, and the hug that Zavala gave him, oh my god. Tears were shedding. And the banter between Cade and Crow was actually funny. It feels like they wanted Cade to be a little bit more serious for the final shape, compared to how he was back in the days of Vanilla Destiny 2, which was a good chance in my opinion. I will say, and I'm going off my script that I wrote here, but I think that this was what Bungie always wanted to do with Crow, and it's why the Osiris passing down the mantle to Crow didn't work as well as Cade being here, because ultimately Aldrin won the dare that Cade had set, so you knew it was going to happen one way or another. There were some interesting plot points for sure, and I'm not too sure what to think of them, but I'll save those thoughts for a more serious review. Again, I know I keep saying that, I just want to be clear that this is kind of a first impressions. There will be an ultimate review a little bit later. I have to say that for the most part, as a longtime Destiny fan, this expansion story was in the same league as Witch Queen, and definitely leagues better than Lightfall. At the same time, I feel like for people who aren't constantly hooked on Destiny, that this story won't have the same payoff. And that's okay. This was made for people who rock with Destiny, who have been here for that 10-year journey. Clearly, there's still that Marvel writing and dialogue, and there's still the long expository moments that really hammers home the point of just good old Bungie stuff.
You're not Crow.
But then there's a sheer beautiful, give me that as a TV show or a movie Destiny that I always get excited for. The exotics are just so good and so creative that Bungie might need to start rethinking exotics again for some of the past couple of years, because my god, This golden gun sniper, I don't even know what else to say. It's just amazing. The sword that I got mine to roll with Wolfpack rounds, yeah, it's pretty nuts. And it's also a very big moment, as seeing as this was from the Corridors of Time. Yeah, it's that sword from Corridors. Considering the amount of sword perks in the artifact, it's safe to say that the day 1 raid meta might as well be swords, swords, and more swords. Speaking of swords, it was such a cool payoff kind of getting to use a master sword to break the witness's shield. I really hope there's some sort of moment where we have to use it. It would really remind me of Ocarina of Time, since I love that game. I'm a little bit worried about the day 1 experience though, because first of all, the servers have been so rough that people haven't really had much time to prepare, which is such a big part of day 1 raid racing. Secondly, the raid was teased in the campaign, and we know that there will be a mission after the raid, so the question really is, will Bungie make the raid easier to increase the chances of ordinary people feeling like they play a part in the story? I suppose we'll just have to find out. I'm also concerned about Bungie putting surges into all the normal raids, because this is something that a lot of regular raiders have condemned. It would suck if the experience of Salvation's Edge is made a little bit worse because of irritating surge modifiers, so I really hope they don't show up. I don't want to sound elitist when I'm saying any of this, by the way. I just really want a long, fun raid race. I want that. I miss that. I miss you, Destiny. I miss your long raid races. Anyway, that's about the raid, which hasn't even come out yet. So I don't think that I'm knocking the final shape as a whole with a few minor things. I've really enjoyed the campaign, and as for the new raid, which comes out on Friday, well, me and CB will be covering all the action, excitement, and disappointment and glory that comes with the day 1 raid race on Raid Zone. So make sure you guys are there for that. For now, I can say that the final shape is pretty much what I expected, while also being not what I expected. In terms of the pure substance of content that we received, it is about what I expected. It has the campaign, some activities, some things to grind, an overworld that is new and kind of refreshing. But in other ways, there's a lot of depth here, guys. Not only is there moments that I really cared about the story for the first time in a while, but there's also things like RNG exotics coming back. And it's not just the class items, but the sword too. There's things like Deep Sight not guaranteeing it on everything in the Pale Heart, which I like. Looks like Bungie is understanding that maybe crafting and having deep sight weapons come that easy is not a good thing for longevity. There's things like Adepts that will be getting refreshed, and all these system reworks that I think work really well, on top of the UI and other changes that I could speak on for hours that nobody really cares about unless you know Life Destiny for as long as, well, me. Anyways, that is my quick first impressions. If you guys can tell, I'm very tired. I'm going to bed now. Goodbye.